Hello, everybody. I'm Eshan Pokhrel,
I'm Michael Bodeker.
and we're here today to do a special episode of the PP Political Podcast, recapping the special announcement from President Trump regarding his future, as well as a little bit about some of the leadership votes that have taken place in the House and the Senate for the Republican Party after the midterms. So let's just get right into it. President Trump made an announcement yesterday night at Mar-a-Lago.
Huge announcement.
Very big announcement. All the media was excited, as everybody was. And right before this announcement, there was like that thing in Poland. So it's kind of funny that didn't deter the announcement at all. But we're not going to keep you waiting. President Trump announced his third bid for president after going one for two so far. So he's looking to come back in a big way in 2024. And yeah, do you have any thoughts about it? We'll get into it a little bit more here. So what are your thoughts, Bodeker?
It was a long speech, actually. It was over an hour, which is usually it's longer than he usually speaks for. So that was kind of surprising. And he seemed to me to be a little bit more low energy than he normally is. He's normally a very it's almost like you're listening to AC/DC when Trump is speaking. Like it's like just heavy metal, just rock and rolling. But it was almost like you were listening to like classical music last night. It was very very different energy from him, which was strange to me. But I mean, to be fair, he's 7 years off of 2015. I mean, he's obviously getting older, and I mean, he actually stuck to the teleprompter a decent amount. So maybe it's a bit of a style change, and we'll see if it's effective.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway too. He stuck to the I watched the speech up to where he announced, and he stuck to the teleprompter. That was really surprising to me, because that's just like a big departure from what I normally expect from President Trump. It was always fun when he speaks, because he's always says something. He just goes off, and he was just like, it looked like he was just reading straight off a page, just looking right at the teleprompter, and yeah, it was very different from.
So I think the biggest takeaway for me is the optics, right? So it was given at Mar-a-Lago. It was like 1,000 people or something there, and it was kind of in like a ballroom, which is fine, but I don't think it's quite the right setting for a presidential campaign launch. I think he should have gone and it would have been cool if he went to like the Cowboys stadium, right? Like a big stadium like that's like a symbol of like America. I mean, that stadium is so grand and all of that stuff. And I think if he went there and filled the whole stadium up with like 70 or 80,000 people, it's like, the real high energy, like show that he's a force to be reckoned with. So I am surprised he went with the more off-brand and kind of lower key announcement instead of going big. He's known for going big. That's the whole persona.
Yeah.
So I'm just surprised that he kept it low key.
I think I've been reading some stuff and just hearing, sorry about that, a little bit about, he wants to be a little bit more like 2016 where he had a smaller staff. It was a little bit more like intimately run. Because 2016 worked pretty well. It was a good campaign from them. They didn't ignore places that Hillary and Secretary Clinton ignored, like the Rust Belt and stuff like that. They did a good job in 2016. I mean, if you can message Trump to millions of voters, clearly you did a good job. So I think he wants to go back to that. I think also maybe they weren't able to sell out somewhere like AT&T Stadium, or because they had some issues. Remember, he was doing those rallies a couple months ago, and he wasn't able to really get a real crowd. So maybe that has something to do with it. I think that would have been better. I mean, if you sell out AT&T Stadium, and the Cowboys can't really sell out AT&T Stadium, so it's like
as a Giants fan, that makes me very happy.
So I don't know. Yeah, I agree that would have been better. Let's get into a little bit about. And he's 76 now. Meanwhile, President Biden turns 80 on Sunday, so that's just where we are as a country. And he said he wants to run for a second term, or he's planning on it right now. He hasn't said anything official. But let's get into a little bit what he said in the speech. So he mentioned China a lot, and early on, I don't know if you saw this part, he kind of insinuated China had something to do with 2020, with the election.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was a little interesting. He kind of just left it hanging, but that was something I thought was interesting. I didn't hear much of the any policy before his announcement, like before he said I will run for president. Was there anything after? I don't think I saw anything. I'm trying to look right now.
So there was some policy. So I know one thing that he came out, he actually suggested the death penalty for fentanyl dealers, which is, that's an interesting policy. I don't know like there. It isn't like a. I'm not saying it's not mainstream, but I'm saying that it's just a very like. It's an interesting policy.
It's an aggressive policy. We'll say aggressive.
Because Trump is not known for like broad policy perspectives, right? I mean, he's much more of a social leader more than an intellectual thought leader. So for him to be proposing policy that like is pretty unique was interesting to me.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram actually, on like Rap or something. They posted that, and it didn't say fentanyl; it just said drug dealer. So I was a little confused.
I think it was more specifically fentanyl.
That's a take on this fentanyl issue. I know a lot of people want to like they blame Mexico, like the border, for it because that's how fentanyl gets in. But that's a very aggressive move. He's coming off the bat pretty aggressively. I don't think he has to because I think he kind of knows. I don't know. I feel like the party's slipping a little bit from him.
Well, so it's just odd, right? Because so if we think about it, right, like with Trump and just political candidates in general, like people get tired of them. So Trump, by going so early, I mean, he could have waited until next summer, and I think he kind of prevents people from attacking him because he has control of the party, and he kind of keeps like, will he do it? Will he not? But by making himself the only person in the field this early, it gives him 8 months to basically shoot himself in the foot. And not
which he'll do.
I mean, he may just do his thing, and that's it. But
I think his thing involves shooting himself in the foot, but bouncing back spectacularly in ways that mystify all of us. We saw that.
It's like crazy, like because we still talk about like 2020, right? Like he was like 12,000 votes away from winning Georgia. He was a few thousand votes away from winning Arizona. I mean. So 2016, I think, was 80,000 votes, and the result was flipped. So you flip the Rust Belt with 80,000 votes, and then Arizona, and then Clinton wins. And I think in 2020 it was around, 100 to 120,000, and you flip a lot of those states. So I mean, even in a year like 2020, he ran a pretty close deal, and we both know that his 2016 campaign was superior to the one in 2020. The messaging was better. There was a more broad policy agenda. And in 24, it looks like he's kind of resorting back to and the problem is I think my main thing with the speech is that he still campaigns as an outsider when I don't think that really works anymore. Like when you are president, you are the head of the establishment.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like that is
I agree.
The thing that you are. So you're not really outside the establishment. He's not outside the establishment anymore, so he can't run like that. He has to run on, my presidency was good and Joe Biden's was bad, and here's why.
Yeah, dang, still coughing. I'm not sick anymore, but still coughing. I still don't know. I don't know why he announced this early. That's like what you were saying. Like I was watching it, and one of my friends was in my room when I was watching the speech, and I was telling him, I was like, presidential elections, like people start caring earlier, but people don't care until like maybe a couple months before the primaries, if weeks before the primaries. So he could have, like you said, he could have announced next summer. He could have announced in like September. I don't know why he chose, especially because I get like if the midterms went extremely well, capitalizing off that momentum seems like something that could make sense in theory. They didn't go well. They lost the Senate. Republicans lost the Senate or didn't win back the Senate. It looks like they're going to win the House, but barely, like, 9 seats flipped, best case right now? Like 9 seats.
Well, yeah, lead. And the thing is, in the speech, going back to the speech, is he talked a lot about how his electoral victories, right? So, like, take, for example, like, he claimed the victory here in Alabama for Katie Britt.
Yeah.
When, we both know, we're both from Alabama. He didn't endorse Britt until...
It took him 2 tries to endorse her, because he endorsed Mo and then
Brooks,
endorsed...
Yeah.
Did he endorse Mike Durant? In the primary, he was thinking about endorsing Mo Brooks again, or in the runoff, right? Or...
Yeah, well, and then Mo said some stuff about the election in 2020, and then Trump said, okay, you're done. And didn't endorse anyone until the general.
Yeah, and then, yeah. And even when he endorsed Katie in the general, it was like...
That's not a win.
It's not a win. It's like in our race, in our House race, he endorsed Mr. Strong, Dale Strong, in October. And, at that point, it was already wrapped up, so it's like the same thing. He said he had like 232 wins. I saw that. But then I saw this graphic, like elections where he really picked the nominee. So places like Georgia with Herschel Walker, New Hampshire,
Pennsylvania.
He lost Arizona, Nevada. and Wisconsin was kind of like a not he didn't pick Ron Johnson, but Ron Johnson was his endorsement. That's the only one he won. He only won in Wisconsin. He lost the other states.
And barely. And very
barely.
close. That's Ron Johnson's closest election.
All the Secretary of State candidates that were in the 2020 election was stolen camp all lost. Especially in Georgia, Raffensperger, the guy that stood up to President Trump, he destroyed Jody Heiss, Representative Heiss, in the Secretary of State's election by 40, 50 points.
In the primary?
Yeah, in the primary. And same with Kemp. Yeah. He beat Senator
David Perdue.
Perdue in the primary by a lot. So, I don't know what he really gained from run. That's so perplexing. I don't know what he actually expected would be, what the positive would be from, announcing literally 2 years from Election Day.
I agree, and I almost feel like it's an attempt to push other Republicans away from running, but I think he doesn't have enough control over the party now to say he's running, and then everyone else says, okay, we're not going to run. I don't think he has that kind of control. I talked about this on the midterm podcast. If DeSantis runs, I think he wins the primary, and I don't think it's close. Trump has his 30 to 35% base of Republicans, but I think there's another 30% that are. So I saw this on Twitter too. There's 3 camps of Republicans now. There's the never Trumpers, the always Trumpers, and the over Trumpers. So there's the people that are over him, and they're like, okay, we liked your policy while you were president, but now you're done. There's the nevers that we're never going to support him anyway, and then there's the always. And I think there's a lot more people there every day. The over Trump camp is increasing, and I think if he runs in the primary, he'll lose, which sparks third party / independent, which would be totally crazy. I mean, 1912 all over, which would be nuts.
Yeah, I don't even think he has the ability to have a 1912 type electoral success though, because his support's so fractured that I don't know what states he could win, especially with the party label.
I don't think he could win. I just think he would screw DeSantis. I think that would be his level of...
Yeah, I agree.
Not pettiness, but say he loses the primary and runs as a third party. If he picks up 15% of the vote in a state like Ohio, Biden wins Ohio.
No, I agree. Okay, let's talk about that. Who do you think's going to run? So DeSantis, I think we both agree, will probably run. I don't know why he would stay out at this point.
The establishment will push him in,
I think so.
To running.
I think Mike Pence
there was
is
talk
going to
about Glenn Youngkin running. I don't think he'll run.
I would like Glenn Youngkin to run. But
mainly because it's his first term as governor.
Yeah,
so DeSantis is a lame duck now. I mean, he can still get a lot of stuff done, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Youngkin has to run for re-election.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a...
I
think
there's
a chance that, Lee Zeldin would run.
I don't know.
He got really cast into the spotlight for what he did in New York.
But I don't know if he's gonna... I don't know if he has the name recognition outside of, the Northeast to, get it done.
You're going to see, a 2020 style with Democrats, just an incredible amount of people
That'd be fun. I like that. That's always fun. No, I think Glenn Youngkin would be a good candidate. But you said, he still has, 2 years as governor, and he still is probably going to run for another term. I don't know if he'll win, but he has another term. And if he wins, but...
I could see Ted Cruz running again.
I think Mike Pence will run. I mean, that's, he has a town hall today with CNN, and they've been hyping that up for the last... even during the midterms, they've been talking about that. So I think he's going to run. I don't know if he'll announce today, but because he's a book out, I think that's why they're doing it, but... I think he'll run.
He doesn't have the clout to really run.
I don't think so.
He's a good vice presidential candidate, but I don't think he's a good presidential candidate.
I still think he's going to do it, though. I don't know what... I mean, there's nothing stopping him is the thing.
And then I think you could see something crazy like a Liz Cheney run. That would be kind of hilarious.
No, I saw people wanting her to be Speaker of the House. Which was
well, that's something.
That's because you don't have to be a representative to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. No, but I don't. I think Mike Pence.
Maybe a Brian Kemp.
Kemp was my pick last week. I think that would be. I don't know if I would support him or whatever, but I think that would be an interesting. That would be a candidate to be.
Mike DeWine from Ohio.
DeWine. Okay, so DeWine's interesting because he's not a mainstream conservative, because he's very heavily pro labor. He's a little bit more of a northeastern type guy, which
is a Rust Belt legend.
Which I think actually there's a lot of appetite for it, but the problem is primaries suck because in the sense that only the people that really want to vote go out and vote in primaries, which makes like a primary results candidate so skewed. So like, I don't know if so. President Trump is what 30. Let's say 30%, 35% of like a solid base. That base is going to show up. So, can other like Republicans can the GOP find, because they don't really, I don't think they want Trump at this point. I think they see Trump as like toxic. I think
particularly the establishment, right?
The establishment.
You know how the DNC did Bernie in 2016 and 2020? I think that easily could happen to Trump this year.
Well, this is the problem. I don't see who. I don't even know if DeSantis can inspire a base the way Trump does. Not even inspire, like make them like a big like a cult thing. I don't know if any candidate can bring out more than like 35% of a state's population and have them vote for them, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think anybody can do what Trump can do with the support, which is like the issue for the GOP.
So I agree, but I think there's also more to add. So I think Trump can bring out rural and voters that will vote for him, like unlike anyone maybe ever. But I think that's offset by all of the suburban/city voters that probably wouldn't vote, but would vote because they hate him.
Maybe.
And so, but while I don't think DeSantis will do as well with the Trump voters, like in rural Pennsylvania, in rural areas like that will go out and vote for Trump, I don't think he has the same level of disgust among city and suburban voters that Trump did, driving them to vote. And so I think his lack of success, I guess, with rural voters is offset by his lack of apathy towards him in the cities and suburbs. And I think DeSantis is much more popular among suburban people than Trump is.
I probably agree. Well, you have to get some of the rural vote, I feel like. Which is why
absolutely
Kemp is interesting to me. Like, he's like, what? He's not even 60. He's term limited after this year, I believe, as governor, or this term. So, lame duck. He could bring out a vote. I mean, his like mainstream policies of what, like, he raised teacher pay in Georgia. That's pretty popular. And, I mean, he won the governor's election by like 9 points. So clearly he's popular. Even if, he has some like social issues that people don't like. It is what it is because, I mean, he won by 9 points. I think I
think you could even see like a Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, right?
You think so?
So I think there'll be some Republican women. Like, we're forgetting Nikki Haley. I think there's a good chance Nikki Haley will run.
You think Nikki Haley?
She's more of like the neocon, like the Bush.
Well, she's been out of it for a while. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Marsha Blackburn is 70. Wow, really? She's 70.
She's 70?
Yeah. This is the thing. She doesn't have a name recognition. Like, we know who she is. But, like, see, this is where Brian Kemp, I think, might have a chance. Or DeSantis has a chance. Because, like, people a little bit know of them. They're aware of the name from past whatever it is. And they don't know enough about them to make an opinion. Like, to have an opinion, like a preconceived opinion.
So, here's my question, right? Who do you think are the good vice presidential candidates? Because I've been thinking about some. So, I was thinking a couple, right? So, Tim Scott is the first name that comes to mind. Chris Sununu is another. Charlie Baker. I think if Republicans appealed to the Republicans of the Northeast, or someone like Tim Scott, even like Ben Carson wouldn't be bad. Or even a crazy pick would be Tulsi Gabbard. Like, I think there's actually like a wealth of options for Republicans to go to in terms of the vice presidential nomination, whoever it may be. Because you don't think Trump will run with Pence again, do you?
Oh, there's no shot. There's no shot. There's no way. I mean, no, there's no way, right?
If so, who do you think he'll pick?
Tim Scott would be a good chance. Tim Scott has a good shot to be president, too, eventually. I think he would be a good candidate.
Tim Scott would run with Trump, though? Because I think Tim Scott would probably rather run with DeSantis than Trump.
Yeah, I don't think he'd run with Trump because I think he's a little conscious about what that label would bring. I think Tim Scott could run for president. If not this time, the next one, 2028. I think he's interesting. He's pro, like, nuclear energy, so he has a little bit of, like, an appeal, cross-party appeal, or, independent voter appeal. And, he's pretty...
Ideally, you want your vice president to be not more moderate, but kind of much more...
different,
regionally focused than your
well, that's what
president.
Mike Pence brought,
Yeah.
So I think Charlie
Christian vote.
Sununu would probably be my first pick for any candidate that was coming into the. I think anybody would want is Chris Sununu. I think that'd be the best pick if he was able to. Him or Charlie Baker. I think Northeast would be the way to go, especially if you think that you being just the general GOP, if you believe that the Northeast is potentially in play, especially okay. So if they had won New Hampshire, you know, in the Senate race, then that's where I think someone like Kristen would be like presidential. Like they would like look to him for president because that means like the Northeast is competitive. Like Maine's always competitive. Nationally in presidential elections, but none of the other states are. But I think if you bring in Northeast Canada, that's a good shout. You'll win.
Well, so I think you either have to go Rust Belt or Northeast. So I think a Rust Belt. So even like Mike DeWine, potentially.
DeWine would be good too, but I don't think this is the thing. DeWine wouldn't run with Trump or someone like that. Now DeSantis maybe. Kemp, I think Kemp, Sununu, or Kemp DeWine would be good. I don't know how two governors would look. I don't know if that's like a bad thing, but that could be interesting.
Because I think even like Ron Johnson, I don't know. Like I'm trying to find some like Republican, like maybe like Scott Walker, like a Rust Belt Republican that has won there and is fairly popular.
I think
because I think that's an area you have to win. Republicans, you can't win in 2024 without the Rust Belt.
No, I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't think I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't even know where else they'd go. Maybe like Southwest. Maybe I don't know. Like they wouldn't get Lombardo.
Doug Ducey, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, I'd say like if they really wanted to be ambitious, Lombardo, the new governor of Nevada.
Joe Lombardo, yeah.
If they really wanted to be ambitious, I don't think that would work. But maybe in 2028, I don't know. But yeah, it's fun to think about. You know, I think we're gonna be, if we come back to this in like a year and a half, we're gonna be completely out. It's gonna be like, I don't know, some representative from like Utah leading the ticket with like
it'll be Mike Lee and like and Adam Kinzinger, I guess.
Oh,
that'll be the winning ticket.
That would be a sight to see. Yeah. No, but yeah, I think we'll find out a lot more after in 2023. I think it'll become a lot more clear. Let's go. Let's touch on the leadership things real quick. The leadership battles in the House and Senate, especially on the Republican side. So basically, I don't really know the full details, but basically, I think once the midterms or whatever election is over, the new GOP in Congress and the Democrats, so they both do it, they get together and they vote on their leadership positions. Last cycle, they had Mitch McConnell as the Senate Minority Leader and Mike McCarthy as a House Minority Leader, right? So
Mike McCarthy, Cowboys head coach.
I don't even know what's his name.
Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy. Okay, Kevin McCarthy. That sounded a little wrong. I was like, anyways, they were the leaders. This time around, they had challenges, so that was kind of a big. I was like, oh, would they flip after a pretty bad midterm? So Mitch McConnell was faced by Senator Rick Scott of Florida, which Senator Rick Scott led the campaign, like the campaign wing of the Republican Senate Committee. So I don't know why he actually ran for this, because I mean, if you're gonna blame one person for the midterms, wouldn't you blame Rick Scott? Because I mean, he led the campaigns, right? He was in charge of like funding.
He pulled funds from Bodeker, New Hampshire. He pulled funds from I think Laxalt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's curious.
Wasn't he like? And a big part of his, I know, like one midterm thing I saw about him, he was like trying to be big on cutting Social Security, which is very unpopular around the world or in the country. Clearly, didn't work. He was pretty big. I saw him talking about that, and then like, because the plan was for Republicans to basically run on nothing and make it a referendum election, but then Rick Scott took this ad out and then did all that, and it didn't work clearly. And now he wants to run for Senate Minority Leader, and he lost. He got 10 votes. I don't see the vote totals, but I know that Mike Braun was the first person to endorse him from Indiana. After that, there was 9 other voters. I don't know who voted for him. McConnell got 37 votes. One person voted present. I don't know who that was. It doesn't say in this New York Times article. After that, John Thune of South Dakota is number 2 minority whip, and John Barrasso of Wyoming is the conference chair, number 3. So That's Jesus. That's the Senate side. The House side, our favorite Kevin Mike McCarthy.
Cowboys head coach.
That's right. Kevin Mike McCarthy faced a challenge primarily from Arizona Representative Andy Biggs. I think Andy Biggs is like, he's like a, is he? I don't know. Is he the one that's like everyone thinks is like the future? This isn't him, right? I don't know. I heard something. I've heard his name. I don't know if he's like, okay. I don't know. Andy Biggs from Arizona. He challenged him. McCarthy won big. Nothing too egregious, but I just wanted to highlight that because it's like a little bit of a fracture in the Republican Party, a little bit of a crossroads. The old leadership, lost the midterms, quote unquote. I guess they kind of did lose, and they were looking for change. Nothing happened, but it's just a little bit of a fracture.
By all accounts, it was a Pyrrhic victory. Like, I think going back to bringing it even back to Trump's speech, like the Republicans won, but they lost. Like Nancy Pelosi's fired, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask any Republican anywhere in the country right now, are you happy with how the midterms went? They're going to say no. So,
No, I see it as a loss because not only did Democrats, not only do you win the House by like barely anything, you also lose a Senate seat in an election that you had no business losing a Senate seat in. And you might lose two. Well, no, you might lose just one. But if you lose a Senate seat, that means it's still divided Congress. Nothing's probably going to get done. But it's just like the optics of that. Actually losing a seat in an election, in a midterms year where you're historically basically guaranteed to do well, is just not good. I think that was the main reasoning for these challenges, but, it didn't work out. Something to keep an eye on in the future, I think, for the Republicans, especially with Trump coming back. It's going to be interesting to see who breaks with him, who goes against him. I know our former, or currently almost former, Representative Mo Brooks spoke out against him recently. Of course, he's just kind of bitter that he lost the Senate seat, I think, more than anything.
Agreed.
But, I know Senator Shelby, who's also outgoing, said something today. I saw it on AL.com. Nothing bad, just saying Trump, I think he just called Trump an interesting guy, and he didn't really commit to anything.
Good for him.
He was like, I had to deal with President Trump a lot. He was an interesting guy, something like that. So I don't know where that goes, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, Richard Shelby, the most apolitical senator in the history of the United States.
Yeah,
Good
maybe.
for him.
Yeah, he's probably up there, especially in the Senate. Yeah, that's about everything. Is there anything else to cover? I just want to do a quick episode on that. I think that's everything.
I guess the only thing, turnout in 2024 is going to be crazy. I think it was like almost 2/3 voter turnout in 2020. 2024 was going to be crazy.
2020 was like 67%.
If Trump is on the ballot, voter turnout spikes dramatically, which I guess is a good thing. It's kind of a good thing for democracy, right? I mean, if people are actually getting out and voting,
that's definitely good. Yeah, what was the turnout for the midterms? Is there a number?
I haven't seen the number yet. It
must have been lower, right?
I'd be shocked if it was over 50%.
If it was over 50, that's spectacular for a midterm, actually. I don't see anything. I don't know. But yeah, no, Trump, even if Trump isn't on the ballot, maybe the last 6 years now have inspired people to come out and actually vote. Because, hey, if Trump can win the presidency, in theory, anyone can win the presidency, people might actually see that as inspire them to vote. I don't know.
Agreed.
We'll see. That's about everything. Thank y'all for listening. I want to do a little reaction. President Trump is back in the arena for the third time. Baby. For the third time. Others might be soon to follow.
Music.
That's right. Actually, not with this campaign. It seems much more mellow. But Vivaldi, yeah. The Four Seasons up in here. We'll definitely be covering the 2024 cycle starting in, I guess, January when the new Congress comes in. We're going to start focusing on that and for another election cycle. Thank you all for listening. Y'all know where to find us. Check us out. Website, Instagram, social medias, TikTok, everything. Our TikTok is active now, so look at TikTok, guys. All right. I'm Eshan Pokhrel.
I'm Michael Bodeker.
And goodbye.